Every night, when most people are deep in sleep, something strange seems to repeat itself across thousands of experiences worldwide. Not in one place, not in one culture, but everywhere. A house that feels completely normal during the day suddenly becomes something else after midnight. People report waking up at the exact same hour night after night, sometimes with a feeling of dread before they even open their eyes. Others describe hearing footsteps, whispers, or seeing movement in the same corner of a room, always around the same time. It's not just random ghost stories either. When you start comparing accounts from paranormal investigations, online reports, and historical cases, a strange consistency appears. Certain times of night keep coming up again and again. Late night hours between midnight and dawn seem to act like a trigger point for unexplained experiences. This is where the idea of a timed haunting begins to form. Paranormal researchers use this term to describe events that don't just happen in a location, but happen on a schedule. A light flickers at the same minute every night. A shadow appears in the same hallway at the same time. A knocking sound repeats on cue, almost like something is following a routine that no living person can see. Some of these cases are so consistent that witnesses begin to anticipate them. They don't wonder if it will happen, they wait for when it will happen. That predictability is what makes it so unsettling. And in many of these reports, the timing is incredibly precise, not around midnight, but specific minutes that repeat over and over. Enough consistency that investigators have wondered whether these events are tied to something structured, almost like a hidden cycle operating alongside normal time. At this stage, there are two major ways people interpret what's going on. One side believes this points to something paranormal, something intelligent or residual that is bound to time itself. The other side argues that the timing is not external at all, but instead linked to how humans experience the night, memory, and perception. But before we get into those explanations, we need to understand something important. Because if these events really do follow a pattern, then the next question becomes even more disturbing. Why that time? If there really is a pattern to these timed hauntings, the first thing we have to consider is something far less supernatural, but no less unsettling. The night itself changes how humans experience reality. As evening turns into deep night, your brain doesn't stay in the same state. It shifts through predictable biological phases that affect attention, perception, and emotional stability. This is not speculation. It's part of normal human neurobiology tied to the circadian rhythm and sleep-wake regulation systems. Between roughly midnight and the early morning hours, your brain gradually lowers alertness. Sensory filtering becomes weaker, meaning background sounds that you normally ignore start to stand out more sharply. A house settling, pipes expanding, wind brushing against windows, even faint electrical hums. During the day, your brain filters these out automatically. At night, especially in quiet environments, those same sounds can become oddly pronounced and sometimes misinterpreted. But perception alone doesn't explain why people report experiences at specific repeated times. That's where expectation begins to play a powerful role. Once a person experiences something strange at a certain hour, even once, the brain starts building a link between that time and perceived threat. This is known in psychology as associative learning. If something unsettling happens at 2:47 a.m., your brain doesn't store it as random event. It stores it as 2:47 a.m. equals danger. From that point on, even if nothing unusual happens, your attention becomes heightened at that exact time. You may check the clock without realizing it. You may wake up more easily. You may interpret normal nighttime noises differently simply because your brain is now on alert. This creates a feedback loop that can make events feel scheduled, even when they are not. And there's another layer that makes this even more powerful. Human memory is not a recording, it's reconstructive. Each time you recall an event, your brain subtly rewrites it based on emotion, context, and expectation. Over time, the timing of an experience can become more precise in your memory than it actually was. A moment that originally happened sometime at night can slowly become remembered as happening at a very exact hour. So now you have a combination that is extremely effective at creating the illusion of repetition, a brain that becomes more sensitive at night, a mind that learns to expect patterns, and a memory system that sharpens events into fixed points in time. But even this only explains part of the mystery, because not all reports are vague impressions or misremembered moments. Some people describe experiences that repeat with disturbing precision, down to the same minute, the same sound, the same sensation, night after night, and that raises a deeper question. At what point does a pattern stop being psychological and start feeling like something is responding back? As we move deeper into the mystery, another major explanation begins to emerge, one that doesn't rely on expectation or memory alone, but on a very specific state of human consciousness: the transition between wakefulness and sleep. This is where a large portion of reported nighttime paranormal experiences actually occur. Neuroscientists refer to these moments as hypnagogic and hypnopompic states, periods when the brain is partially awake but still influenced by dream activity. In simple terms, your mind is no longer fully anchored in reality, but it isn't fully dreaming either. This overlap creates something strange, a blending of real sensory input with dream-generated imagery. During this state, the brain can produce extremely vivid hallucinations that feel completely real. Unlike normal dreams, these experiences are often perceived as happening in the physical environment around you. A shadow in the corner of the room, a sense of presence standing nearby, the sound of footsteps, breathing, or even your name being spoken. What makes this especially relevant to timed hauntings is when it tends to happen. These transitional sleep states are most common during the early morning hours, particularly when sleep cycles are disrupted. That includes natural micro-awakenings that occur as the body moves between REM and lighter stages of sleep. Many people briefly wake up multiple times per night without remembering it, but under certain conditions, they regain awareness while still partially dreaming. In that moment, the brain can project dream content directly into the real environment. This is why so many accounts of ghost sightings describe extremely consistent details: a figure standing in the same spot, the same sound repeating, the same sensation of being watched at the same hour. If a person experiences this once during a specific sleep cycle phase, the brain can begin to associate that time with the experience itself. And then there's sleep paralysis, which intensifies everything even further. In sleep paralysis, the body remains in a temporary, REM-induced state of muscle atonia, meaning you cannot move, while the mind regains consciousness. This condition is often accompanied by intense hallucinations involving presence detection. People frequently report seeing shadow-like figures, hearing footsteps, or feeling pressure in the room. These experiences are widely documented across cultures and often occur in the same narrow time window during the night. What makes it more disturbing is the consistency of perception. Even though the hallucinations are internally generated, they often follow similar patterns: a figure near the bed, movement in the hallway, or a sense of something approaching from outside the room. This repetition across individuals creates the impression that something external is responsible. But it's actually the brain relying on its most ancient survival systems: threat detection, pattern recognition, and environmental scanning, all activated in a state where logic and wakeful reasoning are still offline. So when people report seeing something at the exact same time every night, it may not be a repeating external event at all. It may be the brain repeatedly entering the same vulnerable state and producing the same type of experience each time. So far, we've looked at how perception, memory, and sleep states can create the illusion of repeated nighttime experiences. But there's another layer that can make these scheduled hauntings feel even more real, and it comes from the physical world itself. The environment people live in is not constant. It changes in cycles. Temperature drops, humidity shifts, wind patterns, and even building materials all behave in predictable ways over the course of a night. And when those conditions align, they can produce effects that repeat at the same time each day. Take an old house, for example. As temperatures fall after sunset, wooden structures begin to contract. This can cause floorboards, door frames, and walls to shift slightly, producing subtle but distinct sounds. If the cooling pattern is consistent each night, those sounds can also occur at roughly the same time. To someone half asleep or already on edge, those noises don't feel random. They feel intentional. Now add airflow into the equation. Even in sealed homes, pressure differences can cause air to move through tiny gaps in windows, vents, or wall cavities. This can create whistling, tapping, or soft knocking sounds. These effects are often influenced by external weather patterns, which themselves follow daily cycles. A shift in nighttime wind direction or temperature can produce the same sound at the same hour night after night. But sound is only part of it. Light behaves in equally strange ways during nighttime hours. Passing headlights, distant streetlights, or even shifting moonlight can create repeating shadows that move across the same walls in the same way. If a person is in a consistent position each night, lying in bed, sitting in a chair, walking the same hallway, the angle of those shadows can line up perfectly with their routine. Over time, the brain begins to associate those visual patterns with meaning. And this is where expectation and environment start to merge. Once a person notices a strange sound or shadow at a specific time, they unconsciously begin anticipating it. That anticipation changes attention. The brain starts scanning more aggressively at that moment each night, waiting for the same stimulus to occur again. This heightened awareness makes normal environmental activity feel amplified, as if the house is responding to a schedule. There's also another factor that rarely gets mentioned in ghost lore: mechanical cycles. Heating systems, refrigerators, plumbing pressure changes, and even aging electrical components often operate on intermittent cycles rather than constant output. A heating unit might kick on at the same time every night as the temperature drops below a threshold. Pipes may expand or contract after a delay that aligns with cooling patterns. These mechanical rhythms can create repeating noises that seem too consistent to be accidental. When all of this combines, environmental shifts, structural responses, mechanical cycles, and human anticipation, the result is a setting that appears to activate at specific times, not because anything is choosing that moment, but because the physical world itself is quietly following its own predictable rhythm. And once the human mind starts noticing that rhythm, it begins to feel like something is waiting for it. At this point, the question isn't just whether ghost sightings happen at the same time every night. It's why the human mind turns repetition into something that feels intentional. Because once a pattern is noticed, something subtle but powerful happens. The brain begins to assign meaning to it. This is a core feature of human cognition called pattern attribution. It's the reason we see shapes in clouds, hear hidden words in static, and interpret randomness as structure. In evolutionary terms, this ability was useful. Detecting patterns quickly helped early humans identify threats, predict environmental changes, and survive. But in modern environments, especially at night, this same system can misfire. When someone experiences an unusual event once, and it happens at a specific time, the brain marks that time as important. After that, every similar sensation that occurs near that window gets pulled into the same mental category. Over weeks or months, separate small experiences can become mentally grouped into a single, recurring event, even if the details are slightly different each time. This is how a house can begin to feel like it has a schedule. Not because the house is changing, but because the brain is organizing experiences into a timeline that feels structured. There's also a psychological reinforcement loop at work. Once a person expects something to happen at a certain hour, their attention sharpens during that period. This heightened focus increases the likelihood that they will notice small, normally ignored stimuli, creaks, shifts in light, distant sounds. Each confirmed expectation strengthens the belief that the pattern is real, making the timing feel even more precise the next night. Over time, the experience becomes self-reinforcing. But what makes this phenomenon so powerful is not just the psychology, it's the emotional weight behind it. Nighttime is when people are most isolated, most sensitive to their environment, and least distracted. In that state, even minor irregularities feel amplified. A harmless sound becomes a signal. A shadow becomes movement. A moment becomes an event. And when those moments line up with the same hour again and again, the mind naturally searches for a reason that goes beyond coincidence. So where does that leave us? The truth is that timed ghost sightings don't require a single explanation. They emerge from a combination of biological cycles, environmental repetition, memory distortion, and human pattern recognition, all interacting in a setting where perception is already heightened. But even knowing that doesn't fully erase the feeling people report. Because when you're lying awake at the exact same hour, hearing the same sound, sensing the same presence, logic explains the mechanism, but it doesn't always quiet the experience. And that is what makes this phenomenon so unsettling. Not that something is necessarily there, but that so many different systems, your body, your mind, and your environment, can align in a way that makes it feel like something is.